All right, good. Can formally then welcome everybody to our February meeting for the Access Health and Safety Excellence Program Group. And again, hope you are having an okay winter so far. Hopefully, we got something to look forward to that's a little bit better in coming in March. So getting right to business here, so I don't keep you too long. The agenda for today is kind of just the general kind of review, reminder that I do regarding your topics and your preparation of your evidence stories and preparation of your evidence uploads. Then just a reminder from our last meeting, I'm not going to go into any more detail because we did that last meeting on the enhancements and where they're at right now. So we'll do a quick review of that. A little bit of discussion on consultations with WSIB relating to our industry. Then, as promised last meeting, we were going to review the new topics. And so I'm going to start today with the review of the psychological health and safety one topic. It's called assessing your risk. You recall that there are two. So it's easier kind of to do one at a time. And this is the one you would start with unless you've done the full-blown assessment already before. Then you would always be starting with the first one and then do the second one. And then as usual, next meeting, agenda ideas, any input, any Q&A that can be ongoing. And then we'll look at our next meeting, which hopefully will be springtime, maybe, when the snow or some of it, it's going to take a while to melt, when most of it is at least melting. All right, so let's get right into it. So again, quick review, do every meeting, making sure that you understand that it is your responsibility to track your expiry dates, not wait till last minute to submit everything as usual. I do have that document that I send out, the 365-day cycle, and that tells you how to spread it all out so that you're doing a couple of topics here and there and not waiting till the last minute to submit everything, where the timeline is at least 4 weeks to the expiry. You should be sending me your last topic for review and feedback. Please make sure, and I still get people who don't do evidence packages. They just kind of upload a bunch of files and it's hard to tell exactly which is your plan, do, check, and act evidence. So we package them and title them the plan evidence package do right? So that's how you should package everything together. And a package means a group of documents or items that belong with the plan evidence as listed in your evidence story. So the list of evidence in your evidence story should match exactly the list of items that you have uploaded and the corresponding plan, do, check, act packages. All right. And once you've uploaded the final evidence story, final version, and you've uploaded your packages, then you have to remember a couple of things that are critical is change the draft to ready for provider review. And please hit save at the bottom of the page, because I've had a few people say, oh, I uploaded everything, I'm sure it was there, but then you closed out the portal and you didn't hit save. And pretty well everything you just did not actually get saved. So don't forget that save button. And that sometimes causes a bit of a headache for folks. Then you just send me an email saying, hey, I got a few topics uploaded, or this topic's ready. Can you please go and review it for me? Which is what I will do. All you need to send me is the Word version of your evidence story. So the final Word version. I still get people, for some reason or other, converting them to PDF. Don't do that, because I can type my comments and make even edits for you right in the Word document to send it back to you. So it's easier to do that. You can even upload it to the portal in Word. You don't have to convert it to PDF to do the upload as well. All right. And then the next thing that makes it easier, when you have a large upload package, typically it's the do package. Put the page numbers on your evidence story of the corresponding PDF page where that item is found, right? So that in your evidence list, I can, I'll see if it's, training record is page 4, training materials, page 5 to 7. And that way, for me and the validator, it's easier to match the list of evidence in your evidence story to the packages and find it in the package, right? Remember, do not directly do not send any links, any external links. That won't work. So if you're going to use video, upload them directly. Short videos, 50 megabytes. People have done it and it works, but you can't link to any sort of third party, right? On the evidence story, also make sure you answer all the questions. Remove any of my red text. It doesn't look good if we've got my notes and your notes in the final version that's going to the validator. So all my red text, which is answer this question or should be removed in the final version, right? Important reminder that the validators do keep track of when you're doing your checks. So, and they'll comment back or they'll send an AER if you do it too early. So in the past, we've been getting away with about 8 weeks, but it seems that that's kind of a gray area. So I bumped it up to 10 to 12 weeks or more to give us that buffer, right? And there is no fine line. Every topic kind of is a little bit different on when it makes sense to do the check. And there's nothing in the manual, but in the replies from most validators when they're addressing this issue, it seems to be that 10 weeks is a sweet spot and 12 would be even better. And then the more after that is even better. And again, there's no rush to do the check in it because even if you've done it for a topic, it doesn't, that topic is not going to get any rebate or anything. So there's no reason to rush it. If you've got 3 or more topics still to do, your expiry date is still 4 or 5 months away, then give it time and then go back and do that check, which is kind of the audit, right? If there is nothing in ACT, which means your check said everything is good, that's what you're going to write in the ACT, saying that your check showed that you're following the procedure. Topic probably will continue to monitor. Okay, any wording like that lets them know that there's no opportunity for improvement at this time, and you're going to continue to keep an eye on the topic for continual improvement. Okay. And so when you fully completed everything is when you do the upload to the evidence story and evidence packages. No point in uploading it in pieces because it's just more work for you to go back and forth in and out of the portal to upload the plan and then the due and then, log out and then, 5 days later, the check and so on and so forth. Just wait till you have it all ready and then do the upload. Okay. And please don't send me the evidence packages. If there's something you want me to look at, that's fine, but I don't need the evidence packages. I just need the final evidence story. I look at the evidence when you upload it to the portal. All righty. Any questions, concerns, confusion, clarification required on how you are progressing on the development and implementation of your topics and evidence story? Okay, I don't see anybody typing in the chat, or I don't hear anybody has unmuted and asked. So that's my cue to go to the next slide. Just a quick review from I believe our last meeting is when we dove into all the enhancements, which are now all pretty well in place, right? The new rebate structure that I talked about, the new manual I sent out to everybody that includes the topic evidence stories, the samples. They're now in the program manual. The updated topic requirements guide, which is also available on their website. So those were actually emailed out, so you should have them. And then there change to topic selection, that the only category is new now, and we talked about that and the implications of that. And then the 2 new psychological health and safety topics that were added to the program. and then further clarification on the use and selection of controlled hazard topics. So that is also very important to keep in mind because a lot of you are working on controlled hazard topics. Then they added the digital tool member check requirement. And that means that you're basically clicking a couple of boxes attesting that the topics you selected are you and that you understand that if they turn out not to be that, they could be marked incomplete. So you're basically attesting to the fact that your topic selection met the program topic selection requirements. All right. They did mention that they're going to do an evidence story template. That's TBD. Haven't seen it. I think they said maybe end of February, but I've already updated ours. And whenever you need to fill in the template or you're editing or adding to a topic specific one that I've developed, I've pretty well tried to update them all as they're being used. And so we'll be working with that until I get a look at the one that they provided. And if it's the same, we'll just stick with ours, right? So I'll just take a look and see what they're going to come up with. So that's still, I believe, in the works with them. So that's probably the only enhancement that we did not haven't seen yet. All right. If you did not view if you were not in attendance at the last meeting and you didn't look at the recording, basically that pretty well, that whole list is what we dedicated that meeting to. So you should go back and make sure you update yourself on the changes to the program. All right. So we discussed it all at that meeting. Any questions? Nobody has questions on all the changes. Good. That means I hopefully communicated them well and you understand them. But as always, if you have any questions that come up in the future, please ask. All right. Next item is related to the ongoing kind of challenges we've had with some of the validators and especially the validation of control hazard topics. And so every time I meet with my program consultant from WSIB that looks after our account, I bring this up. And so at our last meeting about 2 weeks ago, I brought it up again. And then finally he said that there is a group looking at this issue. There's going to be some discussion, consultation. They didn't give me too much information. I also had a meeting with two of their kind of senior managers at the program as well as part of our check-ins, and I brought the issue up with them as well. And so they've all committed to having some consultation, some conversation about how validation will be looked at for our industry. And it's I put here the focus control hazard topics, but there is some aspects to some of the other topics as well. But it seems to be a little bit smoother with those, where with the control of hazard topics, we're having a lot of challenges, mainly with the reality that you can only control or have influence over administrative controls, like training your placement workers, communicating the hazards to them, making sure they have the right protective equipment. But when it comes to elimination, substitution, and engineering controls, all you can do is make recommendations, right? And so the question is to make sure with them that is enough. Like that if we focus and we do a good job there, that are they going to expect you to do anything more at the client site? right? And definitely from the client site visit perspective, the hazard, if it's a control hazard, should be on your client site tool. There should be a notation if the hazard's present or not, and what conversation or action, if necessary, took place with the client before you did the placement. So that's important as well. The other challenge is how you follow up um, to acknowledge they understood the training. Okay, so again, in most cases, most of you send it out in a handbook or an instruction, and there's some sort of an acknowledgement you get back, because the days of bringing them to the branch and doing a face-to-face orientation and having them write a quiz or stuff, even though some of you may still do that, those I don't see them as often as we used to. So the other question is that acknowledgement enough as an acknowledgement that they understood? Right? I mean, they have to accept that because that's the way we do it. Right? So these are the things, that are part of this whole discussion. And then with control, how do you verify effectiveness of the controls? Right? What's the expectation that, when you're doing your check, that you verify the controls are effective with your placement workers? How do we do that? Right? And so some of you do a good job. You do phone calls, questionnaire, email, but you can't not do that. So if you're not willing to do that verification with a sampling of placement workers, that one's going to be a tough one to argue against, because we got to go back that 8 or that 10 to 12 weeks and verify the effectiveness of controls. And one of the best ways to do it is to touch base with the actual placement workers that are exposed to that hazards. Okay, so so these are the things that are on the agenda for discussion, for clarification, right? I see a note. I'm not sure. You have used statistics to demonstrate an improvement. I'm not sure what you mean. If you want to unmute and clarify, Caroline.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just meant for the check
Yes.
portion, you're talking about, connecting directly with associates to confirm, that things are effective, but we've always used statistics. So we ran statistics based on prior to the implementation of any controls and then post-implementation statistics and used that as the main part of our check.
Yeah, and that's like from an accident or incident perspective, that type
Yeah.
of that. Yeah, but that's not going to probably get you full points, right? Especially if the numbers are very low before and after. I could pretty well guarantee you they're going to want more than just a statistic saying, look, we had 3 incidents before, we only have 1 now. That's good, but my gut feeling says that's not going to be enough. They want, especially, with the focus on associates being a vulnerable, workforce in Canada and Ontario. They want to make sure that you're communicating with the actual associates. And again, it's not every single one of them. A good sampling to verify they understood, the controls are still in place, that kind of thing. And that goes for the training and the do, and for the effectiveness control and the check. There have to be some sort of an interaction communication, right? In order to show them that you've communicated well with the associates, right?
Is that something new? Because for all the things we have been challenged on, that's not one of them.
Well, it may be that it was not a control hazard topic, okay? Because the effectiveness of control component is unique to control hazard topic, right? If it's the other topics, then yeah, you might get away with that. If we're talking about some of the other more administrative topics, topics that tend to be more administrative, that apply to your office staff versus your placement staff. So it will vary, but the control of hazard topics, we've gotten AERs saying, how did you verify effectiveness control with your associates?
It's interesting though, because like I said, we've used that and for
Yeah,
COH topics and not been challenged on the
yeah,
check. It's
yeah.
it's
You might
other
have done.
pieces that they've asked us for, but not the check.
Yeah,
They haven't questioned that, and we've
yeah,
always used
and
stats as
again,
our
I'd
primary
have to see
evidence.
what was the topic and what was submitted. I mean, I don't remember, but if that's in some cases, and we've had an AR on that, like where statistically it was shown, but but it wasn't enough, right?
Okay.
Um, then there's the issue of continual improvement on the controls. Well, you don't have any influence on that again at the client level, right?
hmm
So that is probably the hardest issue to get across to them, is that you can't tell them what to do. You can recommend controls, but if you're satisfied that they have enough controls that your placement worker will be safe enough with what they have, then you can't ask them to do more or force them to do more, right? Your only choice is not to place the worker there or not if you feel it's unsafe, right? So these are, again, stay tuned. I want to see what they come back with, and what kind of consultation they're going to be open to, and so what I also would like to, if you're interested in participating in the consultation, where it's good to have a few representatives from this group. If we get to the point where we want to have a meeting to discuss the issues and they can hear it from you instead of just hearing it from me, then just send me an email that, if I need help, and attendance at a meeting, to hash this out with them, that you're interested, right? So just kind of opening it up, and I could just keep a list of names, and then that would be helpful as well from my perspective, right? So I just wanted to let you know this, at least the conversation is starting. And so I will keep you posted in future meetings as to any changes. And hopefully they'll understand it and show that, you can still implement these topics without having, all the aspects specifically that maybe a company that, is operating in four walls with permanent staff will have, because it is different. It is unique in that aspect, in that sense. Okay.
Have they given you a timeline for getting back to you in terms of this strategy? Because we're
Um,
sort of in a holding pattern right now,
yeah,
waiting to start another action plan
right.
pending this information.
Yeah. So they have not. Like I said, the last conversation was as recent as I think the week before last. And then we had another meeting the end of last week with some of their senior staff, and I brought it up again. So don't worry, I will be bugging them to say, okay, where are we going with this? What are we looking at? And ask for a timeline, right?
hmm
But what they have told me is they have had internal conversations on this issue. That's what I know, right? And I said, okay, good. And that they will probably reach out to me. And I said, okay, good. So the next step is when, right? Because you're right. It's I don't want to put you guys on hold, especially if you're looking at. Doesn't mean you can't select it, but just I want to make sure you know where the status is, and what the expectations may be on a topic selection before we go ahead, approve it, and put it into an action plan, right? So we will have those conversations as topic selections occur for a number of reasons moving forward, right? Making sure it's new, making sure it wasn't done in safety groups, making sure that you understand if it's a control of hazard topic, what the expectations may be before we put it on an action plan. All right.
So in other words, we have to wait to start a new action plan? Because if we're looking at COH topics, which we are.
Yeah,
so.
I didn't know, you don't have to, if you want to do them and we've had that conversation and you know what the expectations might be, then you go ahead and select it. Right?
Well, I don't know what the expectations might be. I
Well,
feel like that's been
yeah, so
put
we
out
would
there
have
that it's a big
yeah, I don't
question
know
mark.
if we've spoken about it already, but we would have a call just to discuss that before they go on to the action plan. So we could do a separate call to say, okay,
Mhm.
this is what you're looking at. Let's take a look at the topic requirements for COH topics and how you would do each of those for this particular topic in your environment. And that's the only thing we can do now is look at the topic requirements for the COH topic and say, okay, how are you going to fulfill all of these? And as always, with every topic, how do we do it for the office staff? And how do we do it for associates or placement workers, right? And that relationship with the client side.
Mhm.
So those are always, that's nothing new. We always have to take that into consideration for every topic. Because that's what they're looking at, right? And they tend to emphasize obviously the associates or placement workers more than your internal staff, but they look for both.
Yeah, for sure. That was part of the conversation with the validator we had last year.
Yeah,
I'm curious to know, and I mentioned this to you, James, directly, but I kind of wanted to put it out to the group. If anyone else has any thoughts in terms of them creating this requirement that everything be completely new, because I personally feel like it's a failure on part of the program, and it removes the ability for an organization to, in some cases, focus on perhaps a gap that really needs to be focused on. And I'm wondering if anyone else, or perhaps some of those individuals that have been in these programs for a while, have any thoughts on that.
Oh, 100% agree, Caroline. Yeah, we're in the same boat.
So if there's multiple organizations that are feeling that way, is there any way to influence that, James, or put forth some opinions on that?
I can categorically tell you it's a lost cause, because when they initially brought this issue up, a whole bunch of providers had the same exact question you just had, right? And so the simple answer, there's two simple answers I can tell you from them, and that's what the board's mandate is. Number one is, if it's an improvement on a significant gap to a topic that you already did in a previous program and already got a rebate, that's double dipping, and that has to end. All right, you already got a rebate in safety groups for that topic. Even if you're improving it now, you're not getting another rebate. So that was one of the main answers to that question. Number two, the enhancements for 2025 have refocused the program from its original inception. So this program now, okay, is designed for small and medium-sized organizations that have nothing. And they want to refocus rebates towards rewarding these companies that have nothing in place for implementing new safety initiatives. That is the target audience for this program moving forward, right? So that's how they're marketing the program. That's how they rebranded the program, and why they have focused on this concept of new. And that's nothing, that's transparent. They said that right up front, that, okay, 5 years, we've been a little bit flexible. We know we've double rebated a lot of people, who we know did this in legacy programs. We know we've rebated people for what they called significant gap, but really was continual improvement, which has never been part of the program. But this is their way to put an end to it moving forward. Redirecting all that money where they feel it's needed, right? Where they feel these companies need that money, that resource to maintain their program. Whereas larger medium to large size companies have the resources, the budget, whatever. A lot of them have they have a mature safety program and they're just trying to improve it. That's not the target group.
So then what is the recommendation, once any organization has made their way through this process and reached the point where it's no longer the best fit?
Right.
What is the next step?
So they have this thing that they're working called graduation. They haven't really, they're in the process of fleshing that out, but they keep mentioning that the first step in graduation is to the SOCI program, Safe Ontario's, I can't remember, whatever, Ministry of Labor runs it, which is designed to take the completion of the majority of the topics in the excellence program to the certification level for an ISO 45001, core. You may have heard of core certification. There's a couple of other, recognized certifications, right? So people would sign up with the ministry to get to make an application that they're going to go for certification. And as you go through that process, they give you a rebate, which basically pays for the cost of the certification, right? Certification audits, because it's all third party, right? But I have no idea how many temp agencies would be interested in getting ISO certified. I know some of you who work out west are core certified. But we've told them over and over again that that's not the graduation that everybody is looking for, right? It's not, you're not interested in that. So they're looking at what are some of the other options, right? But the reality is that this program is not designed for life, and there's an end. Whether there's a graduation strategy or not, that's it. You've gotten, you've done a great job. We've given you good rebates. If there are no topics for you to pick from, then we hope that you maintain your program, and that's what the program was all about, right? So that's all I can tell you. They haven't come up with any other sort of a rebate kind of concept for, or whether there hasn't even discussion. The only thing right now that actually exists is the SOCI program. And you can Google SOSE and all the information from the ministry is on there to see if it's something that would be viable or of any interest to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, good questions. Anybody else? And I do work with a lot of different, not only temp agencies. So you're not the only ones in that scenario. I'm having conversations almost every day on topic selection with companies that have been around for a long time, and they're in the same scenario. I can tell you, without probably divulging any private information, is I used to have about 23 divisions of Magna in the program. I now have about 6 or 7, of which maybe after they finish this cycle, 1 or 2 or 3 may have still topics to pick from. And that's it. Right. And their demographic is similar, is that most of them were legacy safety group companies for as many years as most of you have been in safety groups, right? And so same boat, same scenario, different industry. But that's the focus. That's what the WSIB has decided. It's their program, and they can choose how to run it. And believe me, we've had meetings, Mary and I, with the board, even before this, pleading our case and stuff, but, you know, that's what they decided. And it really wasn't even at the folks we deal with, it was at the board of directors level with WSIB, where they decide where their money is going to go. And then basically the folks at the excellence program at WSIB execute the board of directors mandate. And that's really how this all came about. They said, no, redirect the money to this group. And that's what we're doing. So that's what they're doing. They want to keep their jobs. So that's what they're doing. All right. So I'll keep you posted on this as we move forward. All right. So here's where the opportunities lie. The fact that at least there's new topics. And again, you'll look at the topic requirements. You'll look at the guide that I'm going to show you and see if it's something for you or not for you. That I can't make that decision, right? But if you haven't done this work, then these would be new, and there are 2 of them. So I would not recommend maybe doing both in the same action plan, but you know, you probably could, but you'd have to do this one first and then the second one after this, right? Because that's the order they go in. And so this one is really a formal kind of full-blown risk assessment, but just focused on psychological health and safety. That's really what it boiled down to, using a specific methodology for psychological health and safety. So what you see here is page 1 from the topic requirements guide of the topic requirements for this topic, right? And it starts off as in most topic requirement outlines. It says you may want to choose this topic if, and that gives you kind of interested in, you know, again, is it for you? Is it something you want to focus on? Is it a priority, or do you know, if you're struggling with basic legal compliance and other issues, this may not be, you may not be mature enough to yet get to this topic. That's something you need to decide, right? And then it gives you an idea of the factors, and these are the factors that you're going to be carrying out this assessment on. Okay, so it kind of gives you a heads up on those factors. And then there's a link to reading more about the factors and the detailed description. A lot of what came from the topics, the foundation is from the CSA standard for psychological health and safety, CSA Z1003. Now, you're not implementing that by any means, but the concepts come from that standard. And the 13 factors are also come from that, are listed in that standard. Okay. So the other thing is they created a guide, which I'm going to show you, this topic and the other topic. So there's probably the most resources that exist for any topic, because I was on the providers committee when they were consulting with us on this, and we all said, you know, these are fairly complex, or, you know, people don't understand, so you need to give them as much information to make it as simple as possible for them to do these topics, or they're never going to do them, right? And they did listen to us to a certain extent, and so this guide I'm going to show you has a lot of resources. So continuing with the topic requirements, it says to complete your topic, your business will establish, implement, that's the standard text that you're going to see. And then the standard, okay? So you have to write a standard, and it must include, as in all the other topics, all of the bullets, okay? And you must implement all of these bullets as well. So you write them in your standard and you implement them, right? Statement of commitment. You could do a policy statement on it if you wanted to, but a statement of commitment, at least in the standard. Roles and responsibilities, the training, the plan for educating, consulting, involving employees, okay, outlining the plan, including the tool. So you have to select an assessment tool that you're going to use to evaluate the factors, okay? And they give you all kinds of options to select that tool. Okay, how you're going to identify trends such as absenteeism, leadership, poor leadership, high stress, these types of aspects, as well as establish a defined schedule for regular review, reevaluation, reevaluating the impact of these factors on the workplace. So you might want to redo the assessment on an annual or whatever basis, right? And then in addition to the standard, you need to create an inventory of the existing health and safety, psychological health and safety support, internal, external, available to your employees. So what do you have or what can you offer that will be able to help your employees? And then document a supportive approach for employees who disclose mental health concerns. And again, in that guide they created, there's all sorts of resources for how you should address that. And then third, maintain a list or registry of the psychological factors for and the risk levels and prioritize them for action control measures. So that's the main output of this topic, is that when you do this assessment, you're going to have this registry, and it's basically high, medium, low risk categories for all 13 factors, right? And then for topic 2, you get to pick one and put in the control program. So that's why you got to do topic 1 before topic 2. So they've created this psychological health and safety topic support guide, right? And so I'm going to show you what's in there. I'm just going to do a quick swap of screen share. Oops. Here it is. Bear with me so that I can get it. All right, here we go. You see it? And I believe I sent it out. If not, I already made a note to send it out to everybody after the meeting as well as part of the handouts, right? This guide is for both of the topics. There's only one guide. There isn't a guide for each topic. And basically it walks you through all of the requirements, right? In kind of what they call milestones, right? They even have a sample standard that you can use to work on your own standard, right? So that was included as well. We asked them to make sure that they included that. And so it's quite extensive and has a lot of good information. The first couple of pages are kind of dedicated to, see if I can make that a little bigger for you in case you can't see it. Just giving you some background information on the topic, what it's all about, and then talks about a little bit about the factors and the psychosocial factors, the hazards with negative impacts, health promoting factors with positive. So this is what you can do to make things better. And this is the list of the factors, and it comes straight from the CSA standard as well. And a link to more information on these factors, right? So it's kind of preamble to get you this is what we're talking about when we're talking about these factors. And then you implement the topic through a series of what they call milestones. Okay. Again, a reference to the CSA standard. And then the resources are all in the appendix, right? So this is, again, a little bit of they took it from the topic requirements. And then they basically walk you step by step through each milestone to implementing this topic. And this will get translated either into a component of your plan, do, check, and act of your evidence story, because obviously still need an evidence story, There is sample evidence stories in the program manual for the topics as well. Okay. And so you work on the implementation of each of the milestones, right? And the first one is establishing some sort of a working group. And it says, doesn't need to be a formal group. It may create, if it's a small business, just at least a couple of people to kind of spearhead this thing, and try to, as much as you can, include your employees in this work. So here's, so we can start seeing there might be some challenges if they expect that you include, when they say employees, you include placement worker. Well, how realistic is that if they're going to be around for 2 weeks, right? So these are some of the things that, we won't know. We can come up front and say, look, we're going to have workers, but they're going to probably be from the office. They're not going to be from the field, right? And what's the expectation of that? So there, as you can see, there will probably be some things that we'd have to iron out, or we'll learn as we try to implement this topic to make sure. But it looks like they're not expecting it to be a formal, like a task force or something, but at least a group, right? That is working on it more than just one person. Okay. Different areas of the business, opinions, so that you can select key representatives from different departments. Again, to create a little bit of a cross-section for that kind of a working group. So they call it a working group. Okay. Then they get trained on their roles. This is what we're doing. This is what it's all about. And then they give you a link to an appendix that training options, right? And there's some free stuff out there as well that has been created on this. So they give you links for that, so that at least if you got 3 or 4 people, they've been trained on what they're supposed to be doing with this topic. They have an idea of what it's all about. So the tasks: assemble a working group, develop roles, train them. That's milestone 1. Milestone 2, identify relevant observable trends related to psychological health and safety, right? So observe trends that you currently have. Turnover rates, sick time usage. They give you some examples, right? Some couple of things that you notice, such as feeling of toxic environment, lack of respect, right? And again, that group, input from that group, consider the following questions. So what kind of data you have that will give you? What kind of trends do you have today? Basically taking stock of what are some of the concerns and issues that you have today. And so the output of this milestone is determine what trends you will use to monitor areas of concern for psychological health and safety. So where are some of the red flags, right? Then milestone 3, you're going to get into the assessment of the psychosocial factors. So you're going to create a plan to assess them with input from workers. You'll determine, you get to pick the tool, and you've got several suggestions. You're going to have a plan to communicate and keep employees aware of what's happening. So some way to keep them up to date on the progress of how this is all happening. Make sure confidentiality is maintained in the use of this tool, because the tool is kind of like a survey. Okay. And again, there's examples of all tools. They don't cost anything. Some of them are online. Some of them are sort of hard copy. But they give you an option of what makes sense, which tool makes sense for you, right? So you get a chance to look at the pros and cons of each tool, okay? And if you're using one with technology, make sure they're comfortable using it. Electronic survey, or does it need to be paper? You make all these decisions. Okay, are interviews with employee a better way to? So if you're going to use it, if you can't use a tool, is it better just to do an interview assessment, right? So the outputs of this determine how you're going to collect the information. You consider all of these factors and the best way to do it. So now you've selected and you have an idea of how to execute the assessment tool. You're going to obviously have to write a standard. So they put that as milestone 4. Create a standard that outlines how you will identify and assess these. The written standard must include the topic requirements, the roles and responsibilities created in milestone 1, the trends that will be monitored in milestone 2, the plan in milestone 3. So all that gets written into a standard. And they expect you to write it, share the plan by communicating and training employees. So there will be some component of communication, letting people know that it's coming, what's happening, what the process is going to be, and then actual training of employees on the standard, especially if they're part of the group. Milestone 5, prepare a plan for supporting employees, okay, at all organizational levels who disclose mental health concerns. So how are you going to address people who disclose? And so that would be part of this. And they give you kind of, there's all sorts of supporting material as well to help you with this. And the output, develop a written plan, which is part of your standard, okay? So you don't have to do a separate document. It can be all in one document, but it would be under some sort of a title that says, plan to support employees that disclose da-da-da. And you would include that in the standard. Inventory of existing health and safety support. So take stock of what is available today. So do you have anything? If you do, take inventory of it. Milestones, this milestone helps to identify resources that are already available that you can check on how they're being used, right? And again, use input from the group and establish how effective are they? Are employees aware of them? Are they using them? And these are just some examples of the ones that maybe are more common that you may or may not have. So the output is the inventory. And again, this inventory would be documented in your standard as well. Then finally, based on the assessment tool you carried out, you decided on in the previous milestone, you actually carry out the assessment using the tool that you selected in milestone 3. So you use the selected tool, you go ahead and carry it out. And then you look at the results of your analysis that you did at the beginning with the results of the scores in the tool and see if there's a match between the concerns that you inventoried before you did the assessment to what the assessment is telling you. And you start looking at the factors and the trends in relation to the results of your assessment. And where are there opportunities for improvement? And so you will create the list of the factors, document all the risks for each factor, assign priority rating. Most of the tools have all this built in so that you now end up with the registry. So all of probably those milestones, with the exception of writing the standard, the document would be planned. Some of it would be planning, most of it would be due, and then milestone 9 looks more like the check. How did it go? Did you have a working group good? Did you, did all the milestones work out okay? Did you have enough time? And it says here, wait at least 3 months to do this. So there's your 3 months now, right? So here they're coming right out and saying at least 3 months. So if we jump the gun before that, we're going to be called out. Okay. So 3 months, we recommend you wait at least 3 months. Once the evaluation is completed, celebrate successes. The output is evaluate the topic and identify the need for improvements of the evaluation process. But you now have basically a list of ranked psychosocial hazards as a result of this. And that's it. That is the end of the milestones for topic 1. And then this document goes to the milestones for topic 2, which I can go through at the next meeting. But then there are all the appendices, so just quickly. The training resources for the team that you put together. Okay, the assessment tools. I personally use Guarding Mind, so I kind of like it, but you can look at all the different tools and pick one, learn a little bit about it. And some of them have online, some of them don't. So if you're going to go paper or interview, you might want to pick a tool that's more, leans itself more to that versus an online type of scenario. Okay. Appendix 3, prepare a plan. This is part of the standard. So you can use this. They kind of give you what you can put right into your standard right here for a plan. How do you deal with people that disclose or in a crisis? Okay. Appendix 4, controls, which probably going to be more helpful for topic 2 of the psychosocial topics. Case studies and how, so a couple of case studies on how each company addressed each milestone. So that gives you an idea of, I'm not going to read them to you, but would be very helpful to see, okay, this is what they're looking for each milestone, what was done for each milestone. And there's, I think, 2 case studies there. This is example 2. And they have an FAQ. You're going to choose both topics here at the same time. So it says it's possible, but you'll need to complete the first one first, obviously. This helps understand the factors. You should choose psychological and safety 1, sensory risk, if you haven't completed a psychosocial factors assessment. So it's possible, but it's pretty tight because of the lag between do and check. So they answer some FAQs, again, relating to both topics. And here's the sample standard that you would customize. And it gives you a purpose statement, the scope. So they give you basically what it would look like that you could customize to fit your organization. So that's a good thing because most people would get stuck here. What am I supposed to write, right? And then so they have a sample for topic, the first one and the second one, which they expect you to customize, of course. I think it's for, yeah, that's part of the end of. So that is topic 1, psychological health and safety. Any questions? What do you think? Doable, not doable? Just kind of curious your feedback now that we've taken a bit of a deeper dive into at least the first one. What your sense is it something worth undertaking? Is there added value? Anybody unmute and just, what do you think? Doesn't make no good, not interested, something you'd never do, or yeah, something we could consider. Just curious. Okay, I see 1 thumbs up. Any questions? Like, so nobody's commenting, so I can't tell whether this topic is something that, yay, this is great. We'll look at this, or yeah, good, but not something our organization's probably interested in. So yes,
Interesting topic. Again, would again have to really consider how it applies and how you evaluate it for the various client sites as well, and the temporary workers there. So
yes.
that's a big concern, a big consideration, I guess, with this one.
Yeah, obviously, if you have client sites where you have a larger group, it's a little bit probably easier, larger groups like that, because you could do that focused assessment on that. But if most of your placements are like 3 people here, 2 people here, 5 people here, but that might be from a client site perspective a little bit harder, and from a way to evaluate the impact, because they're here and gone. So how do you know this program is helping you and them, right? Because the workers are no longer there that may have been involved, right? So yeah, it's an interesting concept that may make more sense for some organizations than other, depending on how you run your business, right?
Yeah, I think for us as well, it's really taking a look at it with other leaders in our people and culture team to really understand the scope and how we can, if the scope needs to be with our placement associates, then what does that mean, right?
Right,
If we
right.
can't scope it for staff only
No.
at this point as a phase, then it's something that I think the whole leadership team and myself and the health and safety team need to really look at before we can
Yes.
say yes, no, how it would be beneficial. So,
Yeah.
but definitely something we're looking at. We're looking at anything. So,
All right. All right. So that is what's involved in this topic. All right. I'm just looking at next meeting date. If you have any questions, this is the time on anything we've talked about today. Let's see. Probably looking somewhere the end of April. Probably like the 24th. It's not a holiday or anything, right? Well, that week is Easter Monday, so hopefully that shouldn't be too much of an issue. Okay, so let's look at April 24th, 1 p.m. All right. And that's it, unless anybody has any questions. All right. I'll give you back the extra time we've got left, and oh, I think we actually went, where did we go? 5 minutes over, sorry. I owe you 5 minutes. All right. Thank you very much, and we'll keep in touch. If you have any questions, you know where to find me.
Thanks, James.
Thank you.